Yeah, I want to talk a little bit in this video today about zero drop shoes, minimal shoes, and how I use them. I posted a YouTube video a while back. It was all about the Ultra Escalante 2, and I love that shoe. Now, I use that shoe for very, very specific purposes. So, for one, talk a little bit about zero drop and what zero drop means. Zero, if you don't know, zero drop means that there's no drop from the heel down to the toe. A lot of times a shoe will have a drop where the heel is a little bit higher and a little more elevated than the toe. A zero drop shoe obviously has no drop, which is kind of uncommon. It can be a little bit hard to find. The cool thing about the Ultra that I really, really love is they do have a wide toe box. They don't cram your feet. They don't cram your toes in. They allow your toes to spread out and to splay out, which I believe all our shoes should be a wider toe box shoe, just my personal opinion. And they are also a minimalist shoe, or a close to minimalist shoe. They're not a full blown barefoot shoe. Minimalist means is there's not a lot of stack on the bottom. So that's going to be something that is important to consider too. So we're talking about a pretty minimalist zero drop shoe here in the Ultra Escalante Racer or any shoe that is like that. Um, so let's get into kind of how I use that shoe because for me, that's not a shoe that I'm gonna run in every single day. It's not a shoe that I'm really gonna do my long runs in. If I was to run in that shoe every day, it would be for shorter runs and it would have a very, very specific purpose. So, when you run in a zero drop shoe, what happens is it puts a lot more tension on your calf muscles, on your calves, on your ankles, and with a minimalist shoe, also on your feet. So, it can really help to strengthen your feet, strengthen your calves, and really even all the way up to your knees. There are some folks that say that even running in a minimalist shoe can actually have a better effect. You would think that like a highly cushioned shoe would protect your knees more, but in some circumstances they say that that minimalist shoe is actually less impact on the knees. But a minimalist shoe is something that you have to get used to. A zero drop shoe is something that you have to get used to because it is going to put more significant strain on your Achilles tendon without that drop. And so it's something to kind of work into and to build up to. So, what I like to do is I like to make sure that one of my lower distance or lesser length runs during the week is done in that in that zero drop, low stack, or minimalist shoe. That way, at least once a week, I'm really strengthening my feet, I'm strengthening my calves, I'm strengthening all that musculature down there. And so sometimes maybe if I'm doing a blended CrossFit workout, I love this shoe for that. If I'm doing a CrossFit workout where I'm still having to stay balanced, I want a really good flat, stable shoe that I can stay balanced. If I'm doing movements like lunges or I'm doing any kind of lifting, I don't want some shoe that is really bouncy. I don't want that at all when I'm performing even box jumps and different things. I kind of like having a nice stable shoe where I have some feedback and can kind of feel the floor a little bit. And so they're great for that. So if you're doing like a mixed workout with shorter amounts of runs, that's 100% where I will throw in and use this shoe. For example, I did a compromised running workout today for High Rocks, and so I did. There's a I'm kind of semi tapering, taking it a little bit easy. I have a race next weekend. I'm not really trying to do PR the race or anything. I'm treating it as training. It's just for fun. So I'm not super tapering, but I am just a little bit. So I did 3 rounds of 45 second, 45-second wall sit, 12 reverse lunges, 12 lateral box step overs, and then a 600-meter run, and then 90 seconds rest. There's 3 rounds of that. Perfect type of session to throw that shoe in, use that shoe. Also, just any kind of shorter run, maybe even a speed run. If I'm trying to work on improving my running form without that high stack, it helps me kind of stay to kind of feel where my feet are hitting. So if I'm working on my form, whereas if I have a real high stack shoe, it can kind of cause me to heel strike and drag my heels a little bit. And this lower stack shoe gives me a little bit more control, a little more feedback to work on my running form and feel, like my ground contact and different things like that. So for me, this shoe is really more of a tool. Just like I have long run shoes that are there for a purpose, like my Hoka Bondi 9 that I love to go run in. Um, Another way that I will use a shoe like this is if I am, let's say, like I'm having knee pain. For me, for most people, having a high heel to toe drop puts more pressure on the knee and so can cause more knee pain. So, like, I was just dealing with a bout of runner's knee, so I could not use the Brooks Ghost 17. It has a pretty high heel to toe drop, and so running in that shoe would just irritate my knee really bad. Whereas running in the Ultra would not really hurt my knee. It really helped. The less drop, the less heel to toe drop, the better my knees actually felt. So I've been sticking to like a Hoka Bondi 9 for my long runs, which only has a 5 millimeter drop. For my tempo runs and for my threshold runs, it's an Adidas Evo SL, which has a 5 millimeter heel to toe drop as well, which isn't super high. And then my ultras. Whereas my Ghost 17s, I want to say it's a 12 millimeter heel to toe drop. Could be wrong on that, but I know it's at least 8 or more. I'm pretty sure it's 10 or more. I'm pretty sure it's 12. But anyways, so that takes the pressure off my knee. Whereas if I had an Achilles problem, I definitely wouldn't be using, if my Achilles was flared up, I definitely would not be using the Ultra. I would not be using a zero drop. I would actually be reverting back and using the Ghost 17s, something with a high heel to toe drop, which will alleviate some pressure off the Achilles. But then always got to remember it's going to put some more pressure back on the knee. So I have different shoes that are different tools that I kind of, I keep a rotation and I use them, as like I said, as different tools for different applications or for different stimuluses that I'm trying to get out of my run, using them to work around injuries, all that thing. So, hey, that gives you a really good excuse to go buy some new shoes. I'm gonna drop a few of my shoes that I have in the description below. I'll drop some links there so you can just check out some of the shoes that I use, and I'll have a little description of what tool, how I use that shoe for running. I believe that's it on that. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in.